rugged, tough, game-changing.
What's up, guys? This is a bit of a new format, but we wanted to talk about something that's very relevant right now, and that is the 2024 Toyota Tacoma. I got to go see it at the Overland Expo this year, which was really cool, and I had a few thoughts. And this is not gonna be your normal, like, everybody getting hyped up on fancy seats or whatever kind of video. This is gonna be like the nitty-gritty. As far as I've been able to tell, nobody's really looking underneath the truck. I don't know why, but that's the first place I went. So let's talk about my first impressions of the 24 Tacoma. There's some good, there's some bad. Basically, they finally figured it out and put a disconnectable sway bar, which is awesome. We're all stoked about that. Hit the dirt, disconnect it, have full articulation, hit the pavement, reconnect it, have stability on the corners. Awesome, we've been waiting for that forever, and we didn't even have an option to make one before. It's just like there was no real good solution, so now it's just built in, at least on the higher end models. But other than that, really the rest of the front is exactly the same. As far as I've been able to discover, the front travel numbers are the same. Like, basically everything is just the same. They didn't take the opportunity to increase travel. Everybody's going on and on about the wider track width, and it's just wheels. The wheel offset is just a little bit deeper. I don't really understand why they wouldn't be like, okay, the TRD Pro and the off-road or whatever are gonna get more travel. They could be in the 10-inch range easily, and they're probably more like 8.5. So I think that's a big miss. I'm pretty disappointed, honestly, but that's what they did. So anyway, other than that, they have new tie rods, and they're about literally as big as my pinky. I stuck it up next to it, and it's just like, I still haven't figured out exactly what their game plan is. It was still all like brand new trucks, and they're kind of crusty underneath, starting to rust already. So anyway, not super enthused about the front suspension. It's just the same as it's always been. The cam bolts, the cam tabs, we're still gonna be welding cam tabs, reinforcing them. We're still gonna be having to pull the cams out and greasing them. So really nothing has changed but the sway bar. So take that as it is. So moving a little further back into the center of the truck, still underneath, the frame is boxed. That we all knew it was finally gonna come, especially with the Tundra kind of giving us a sneak peek of what the Tacoma is gonna look like. And there are threaded holes in the side, which is really cool. I think that's, at least on the model I looked at, I don't know if that's all models, but it had threaded holes on the side of the frame. So you'll be able to bolt sliders into it, kind of like how the 4Runner is, I'm guessing. So I think that's a good thing, but we'll have to wait and see what aftermarket comes up with. Straight into the back of the truck, the rear suspension. I didn't actually know this before the release, actually before I was even at the event, but there are two rear suspension setups. So you have the 5-link, the one that everybody's been excited about. It's basically the same as the 4Runner, the FJ, the new Tundra. They all run the same rear suspension. It's a 5-link, so two upper control arms, two lower control arms, and then a panhard. Nothing really too special about it. But then they have their pre-runner truck, and I'm assuming the lower end models as well, like the SRs, that have a spring under setup. So like taking it way back to like the old school Tacomas, and I just don't really understand. Like, you have a pre-runner, it's 2-wheel drive, it's 2-door, it's got the bigger engine, and it has a locker in the back and spring under, and that's supposed to be the pre-running one. I feel like links are better for pre-running all day. So I don't really get what they were kind of thinking there, but anyway, it's gonna be interesting who does what with what truck, and there's gonna be like a lot of people trying to figure out a lot of products now that there's two completely different suspension platforms for the rear of the same truck. So that'll be really interesting. I don't really know what to think about it at this point, but yeah, I'm excited about the 5-link. It performs great on the Tundra. so I think it'll perform great in the Tacoma as well. The problem with it is the same thing that they did with the Tundra. They just put these huge shock mounts under the axle, so the shock is almost dragging on the ground just stock, and then they have like this much room between the bed and the top of the shock. They could have just moved that shock tower on the frame up like 4 inches and then moved it up 4 inches at the ground, or left it the same and had more travel. I'm pretty sure the travel in the back is probably gonna be like 8 inches. It's gonna be pretty pitiful, and you're gonna have to still do a shock relocate to get proper travel. And this would have been literally no extra cost for Toyota to just do correctly in the first place, and they could have had probably 14 inches of travel. But with that said, you could probably do a shock relocate and get 14 inches of travel very easily. So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously I haven't played with it a lot, but I'm excited about that. So I think there's gonna be room for improvement in the aftermarket, but it's a bit disappointing how it comes from the factory, especially when you compare it to the Ranger Raptor and the Colorado ZR or whatever they're called. And those, at least the ZR I know comes with a front locker too, and Toyota just continues to not put a front locker in. I'm a bit disappointed with the off-road capability, if I'm totally frank. If you keep going under the back of the truck to the very back, the truck that I looked at, the hitch, the low-hanging hitch that everybody smashes on the ground, is welded to the frame. It's welded to the frame. Like, what the hell? Why would you do that? So now everybody that wants a high clearance bumper that doesn't want to smash their hitch on the ground is gonna be voiding their warranty. That's the only option, at least on the trucks that I saw, but they are literally welded to the frame. So I'm really curious what the aftermarket is gonna do with that, because I don't think most people are gonna want to cut that out, but at the same time, most people aren't gonna want a hitch dragging on the ground. This is one of the most baffling things that I've seen so far, and honestly, it's like they don't even want you to off-road their trucks, even though they're like marketing it that way so hard. It's completely mind-boggling. I don't even have anything else to say about that. So anyway, so the next thing that I didn't realize before was that the new access cab is not going to be very accessible. They got rid of the doors. There's 2 doors now, no rear doors. They got rid of the rear seats as well in the access cab, so it's now like the old school extended cab, and it's just a 2-door truck with 2 seats. And if you need to put something in the back, you're gonna have to move the seat forward and shove it in. This is one of the most confusing decisions. I keep saying that. They're all very confusing decisions. But yeah, it just makes no sense. So anybody that wants to like overland a access cab Tacoma will have a very hard time. You won't be able to put a fridge back there, or I mean you could, you just won't be able to get at it easily. It's a very mysterious decision. But yeah, anyway, moving on to the interior, it is really nice. I do quite like it. The heated and cooled seats are nice. They finally have some auxiliary switches that are pre-wired, so you can just run your lights straight to those. That's great, something that Ford's been doing for probably 10 or 15 years, but you know, Toyota got there. Overall, I like the interior. It's got a big screen if that's something you're into. It's just basically the Tundra, just smaller. And I really like the Tundra, so no complaints really with the interior. But one thing that is really interesting is these new air ride seats that come in the TRD Pro. I feel like they basically decided, let's not upgrade the suspension and just upgrade the seats instead. So instead of adding travel to the suspension, they added 1.5 inches of travel to these air ride seats. I would rather have the travel if it was me, but they do look interesting. I'm curious to try them. Nothing really to say other than it seems like a really expensive option that's a little bit gimmicky. But yeah, overall, I like the interior. I didn't get to sit in one. The doors are all locked, but it looks nice. So moving out of the interior and into the heart of the beast, the thing's engine. But to see the engine, first you gotta pop the hood, and guess what? It's still a stick. This is 2023. I guess this will be 2024, and it's still held up by a little tiny stick like this. They at least upgraded it so that there's like a taller version. So if you're tall like me, you can open the hood a little further, but no hood struts. The 4Runners had them forever. The Tundra has them. Like every single car these days has hood struts, and all they decided to do was put a stick with like an extra hole in it.
Were you behaving badly and they made you sit out here?
Nope. I can sit wherever I want. I'm the boss. Anyway, okay, straight into the engine. It's gonna be the 4-cylinder, twin turbo as far as I know, and I think it's gonna be an upgrade. If the Tundra's anything to base it off of, it's definitely gonna be way better. The problem with the 3rd gen was never that it didn't have power. The problem is that the power didn't hit to like 4,500 RPM. So you're never doing that in a truck. You need that low end power, and at least with the Tundra, the V6 twin turbo, that power hits very early on and it stays consistent through the whole band. There's no like weird turbo lag that I can tell, and I've been driving this truck for a year. So really stoked on the Tundra engine, and if that's anything to go on, I think that the new Tacoma engine is going to be quite good. So I'm curious about that one. I'm really curious if it's gonna be able to be transplanted into 3rd gens, if that's something that people are gonna do. But yeah, really excited about that. As far as the transmission goes, they are still doing the manual. I'm not sure if they'll have the hybrid version with the manual, probably not, but they do still offer 3 pedals, so that's really cool if that's something you're into. So tire size on the new Tacoma, the ones I was looking at the expo there had a 32.6 inch tire, which is, you know, base almost a 33, and looking at it, the cab mount is similar to the new Tundra, so it's set farther back and they have little brackets and stuff that push all the liners out. So I think that 33s will be very, very easy, if not like no modifications. 35s should be much easier than they are right now. Obviously I need to get my hands on one to know exactly what's gonna need to be done to fit them, but I think that it's gonna fit a lot easier than it has in previous generations. So that's really great to see. So that pretty much wraps up my initial impressions after my quick walk around a new one. It's gonna be a really interesting truck. I'm excited to see it. I think it will be an upgrade overall, but there's some decisions that I'm a little iffy about. But I would love to hear your thoughts on the new truck. Are you excited to get one? Are you gonna get one? Should we get one? Let us know in the comments, and I'll definitely be reading them. As soon as we can get our hands on one, we're definitely gonna do a video about it. So definitely subscribe if you're interested to see my thoughts on the truck, because I don't really care about what people think. I just want to see the truck and see how it performs. So, you know, things like a red push to start button don't interest me. I want to see how a truck performs off-road, because that's what we're into. So if that's what you want to see, definitely subscribe, and we'll get back to you next time. Bye.